Thank you, ladies. Thank you for coming to the podcast. I appreciate all of your time. Sister Reggie Mabitsela from the South African Sport Association for the Intellectually Impaired, SASA-II, and Kgothatso Montjane, South Africa wheelchair tennis star. Sister Reggie, let me start with you. How has the COVID-19 impacted, SASA-II, especially with the schools closing, as we know that a lot of your sport takes place at school level?
Thank you very much, Lethabo, and welcome, Kgothatso. The COVID-19, it really made a very, very big impact on our sport as the intellectually impaired. Of course, we were supposed to have our games in March in Western Cape. In 3-4 days to come to prepare ourselves to go to Cape Town, that's when the lockdown was implemented. So since then, we never had any opportunity to have our kids or our learners to participate in sports.
Sister Reggie, for the benefit of people that don't understand what II works with, can you just explain a little bit what the kind of athletes that you work with?
Okay, thank you very much. The intellectually impaired athletes are the athletes with the intellectually impairment, that is having IQ of less than 75. Let me just say so that people can just understand me very well. We are talking about the mentally handicapped. This is the word that was used before we have this intellectually impaired. So they are the mentally handicapped athletes, but they're doing good.
Kgothatso, let's come to you. How has COVID affected you, on a personal level and broadly, say, on disability sport?
Thanks, Lethabo, for this opportunity. I mean, obviously for me, it really hits me hard. Tennis for me, it's a career. I need to eat, need to pay bills, I need to do all that. But it has affected me so much. But other than that, I got to realize that I'm not the only one who's affected by this. And obviously, it's a huge blow because this year we're supposed to be at Paralympics, and we've seen Paralympics being postponed. And we all know the work that actually goes into the past 4 years to just like prepare for just that one particular year. So it's a huge blow for me, but it is what it is. I have to make the most out of it. On the brighter side, I mean, it gave me, time to reflect, just life in general, because I think this COVID, it brought me closer to family and friends, because I'm hardly home. I'm always out there, playing tennis. So yeah, other than it being just a huge blow to my career, but on the brighter side, it has brought me closer to the loved ones. And I think that's what was the most important thing during these difficult times, so that, they helped me to actually keep my mind, sane. So it's just how things are, yeah.
And then, are you seeing, in terms of the relief, we've seen a lot of there's the relief efforts, for other athletes and other sport, mainstream sport. Are there those kind of relief efforts as well for disability sport?
Yes, most definitely. Even though I got mine later in the month, but at the end of the day, I did get it, and I know the other two wheelchair tennis players did get it. I'm not sure about other athletes in athletics and basketball. I'm not so sure about that, but we got it. So I would like to think they could have considered, other sporting codes across the country. So we were part of it. We were not excluded on that. Yeah.
Reggie, for you guys at SASA-II, were you able to get any relief funds, maybe from the government, like they have been assisting other sporting codes?
Okay.
Yeah. I lost you there. Sorry.
Okay.
Reggie, go first, and then Kgothatso will go in after you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Of course, we did apply as they said, we need to apply more especially from Sports and Rec, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, but up to so far as SASA-II, we didn't get anything. And I'm not sure if mainstream sports got relief from the government because COVID-19, however, if that is the case, we feel that disability sport should be treated the same and equally with mainstream. Moving forward, post-COVID-19, we appeal to the government to support disability sport, especially at school level, where the SGBs are no longer prepared to assist athletes and our federation with the required support and capital.
So you wanted to add in something there?
I was saying I missed your question. I missed your question. The connection, yeah, slightly went off there.
We were just asking that the relief, did it come from the government, but you had already, answered that for us. So, but then there are challenges in disability sport, lack of facilities, lack of trained coaches as well, and sponsorship. Are still those, big challenges for disability sport? Let me start with you, Kgothatso, then we'll move to this region.
I would like to think so. Most definitely. I don't have the stats. But when I look how things actually unfold, every year, it just seems like disability sport is just on one place. Yeah, like we still have Nedbank championships for athletics and stuff like that. I'm not much familiar with other disability sport, but we've been having that event, and it's always the very same athletes who come out of, those games to actually go out and represent the country, which it's so questionable in terms of development. What's really being done on the ground? You come to a sport like tennis, you still hear about KG. You've been hearing about KG for the past 5 years. What's being done on the ground? So things like that are pretty much questionable. I'm not so sure if it really has to do with the funding, because for one, I know at a higher level, sponsorship is a problem, having to become an elite player. All those things are just challenges by themselves, because in other ways, I have to fund myself, where I can. But the issue of sponsorship at the top level, it's a major one. But my concern is it just lies on the ground, in the ground. Like, what's really happening out there? Why are we not seeing new athletes coming up? Because should we hit retirement, what does it say? Are we not going to have this sporting codes anymore? So that's just most of my concern, to be honest.
You feel like there isn't a lot of work that's been put into development, like, okay, fine, whatever that we have seems like people are okay with it, so now we are not doing enough in terms of reaching out, to maybe school level, grassroots, to say, how do we then unearth more KGs?
Yeah, most definitely. Development, where is it happening? If it's really out there, what's coming out of it, because we cannot have KG for the past 5-6 years, but we're not hearing of any future star coming up, so that's just a concern, because if we don't have any players coming up, it means, the sport, it's running into a non-existent thing. It's gonna die if we don't see other players. So the development part of sport, I think disability sport across the country, it's much of a concern for me, because even when I look at across other sporting code like athletics, I still see very same players that I went with to previous Paralympics. Why do we still have those athletes, at the top, and we're not seeing any other upcoming players? So it's pretty much questionable when coming to the issue of development, and that could be a problem with disability sport going forward, because should I decide to retire, it means it might be the end of it.
Sister Reggie, at SASA-II, are these challenges the same as well, like lack of facilities, lack of trained coaches per se, and also funding?
Thank you very much. This is a very serious challenge on our side, starting from the school level. In SASA-II, we do have 11 codes, whereby some other schools at school level, they cannot participate in those other codes because we don't have facilities. And when we need facilities, we need funding. And you may find that the government itself, it won't even help us in any facility that the school can need. Let's go to provincial level, whereby learners must come and compete, or maybe when we do selections for the national games, really we are suffering. Imagine paying for the municipality facilities, just a day to come and do a selection, a day to come and compete, or maybe a championships for athletics or whatever, ball games and whatever. We are really having a very, very serious challenge. And this one is not for only one province. I mean, for our provinces being 9, we are having a very serious challenge. Going to national games, a province is hosting we bid as SASA-II. We may find that the very same province, all the stakeholders, they need money from SASA-II. Where are we getting the money? Because we have a grant from Sports and Rec that is very, very little. And then lottery, they don't even give us or maybe approve our application and whatsoever. Then what are we supposed to do with our athletes? Because they are just relying on their grants. They don't even have opportunity to get work whereby they can maybe now I can say those athletes may be of mainstream. I think that those who are getting more benefits than our disability athletes.
Sister Reggie, also in your case, there is the medical issues as well, that when you do travel, you still need the athletes to be medically certified as well. How big of a challenge also is that in II?
Responsibility of a school. You may find that the very same athletes that are coming from school A, the school A doesn't have enough money to take the kids to medical, whatever that they need to. You know, we are having a very, very serious challenges, whereby sometimes we may feel that, hey, let's just leave sport. But of course, our kids are not academically qualified or whatever. They are talented in sport. We are becoming more frustrated and confused. Funding is a problem, even to our coaches. Sometimes we don't have qualified coaches from our structure. We have to look for other coaches or technical officials from other structures. SASA-II must pay. Where are we getting the money? Where are we getting the funding? If maybe they can just allocate to say intellectually impaired for a year, we give you 10 million. I think more or less we can run sport and our kids will really, really benefit more on that one.
For those that don't know, Sister Reggie, what kind of sporting codes do the II athletes compete in as well?
We are doing athletics, we are doing basketball, we are doing cricket, we are doing football, we are doing futsal, we are doing indoor rowing, we are doing black ball pool, we are doing table tennis, we are having swimming, the other one, we're having 11. Okay, gymnastics, we do have, but that is the challenge, that facilities at our schools, people are ready to do that, but because of those facilities. All in all, I mean, netball, we do have it, and then the other one, but there are 11 in number.
But also, the thing is that disabled athletes also, they perform despite it's not a matter of they just make up numbers or it's just to balance coaches as well. Is that also an encouragement, or all these challenges also affect how then athletes perform when they get to certain levels as well?
Yeah, just to chip in on the previous point Reggie was making, to be honest, disability sport, it's more stronger in the schools,
Yes.
And the issue of facilities, it's huge. It's huge. The school that I came out of, they didn't even have a tennis court by then. But here I was playing tennis. We played in a school hall that had like a badminton court, you know. So it's so sad to hear that those challenges are still there. I mean, last time I was at high school, it was in 2005. And it seems like even today, we're still preaching the same thing of having facilities at school. Because to be honest, if we were to develop a lot of athletes with disabilities, the schools, you know, the special schools, that's where you go, because that's where it is strong. That's where kids or learners are more motivated to partake into this sport. So it's really, yeah, it's really saddening to hear that, you know, those are still the struggles, even now. And then you ask yourself, like, Paralympians always do better than the Olympians. So how come from provincial levels, the provinces with the budget that they get, why can't they put more budgets into areas like that, special schools? Because that's where stars comes from. I'm not saying Olympians are not good enough, but to be honest, in the past years, Paralympians have been doing much better than the Olympians. So it's really saddening to hear that even now it's still the same, you know, struggle. I just wish they could actually do better than that, you know, because for these kids to move out of school and decide to pursue sport as a career, there are more other challenges. Just imagine if you're having challenges of just getting a certain facility to just like do what you want to do, you know. By the time you get to the top, what are the challenges there? Because that's how tough it is. Becoming an elite player, it's even worse. The challenges are even worse because sometimes you have to deal with them by yourself. So I just wanted to chip on that and say it's really saddening to hear that there's still challenges like that, you know. And to come to a question, yeah, issue of funding will always be a problem. And like we said, we're talking about facilities, lack of, you know, qualified coaches. The teachers at schools, at special schools, they try their level best, you know, to teach learners all these things without even the knowledge, because I'm just one of them. I came out of a special school with teachers who never knew what they were doing, but simply because they've got a passion to push learners to pursue this thing. Because sport to people with disabilities is not just about being competitive. For our social life, it has to do a lot with our well-being, you know. So it's saddening to hear that they haven't even put, you know, structures like that back at schools, whereby we have, you know, qualified coaches actually helping out from the grassroots level. So I don't know how will we get this one right, you know. But for me, it's so disappointing to actually hear Reggie saying they still struggle with the same issues that when I was young, I was facing the same challenges, even though, I mean, for me, didn't pay much attention. But since now I have a clear vision of what sport is and what sport can do, it's really disappointing to hear that struggles are still the same even after, I mean, 10 years of leaving school, you know.
So just in wrapping up, Sister Reggie, I'll start with you. What would you like to see happen, you know, in terms of raising more awareness of disability sport, you know, and making sure that disability sport also gets the kind of support that mainstream sport also gets in society?
Thank you, Lethabo. Before I can answer your question, let me go back to Kgothatso, what she was saying. Paralympians are better than Olympians, and that one is a showcase. And we really, really saw it several years ago. Imagine now we are having the national games of sports and rec. Having as SASA-II, we're having given only one coach for winter games. In summer games, they give you only one coach. Mainstream come with all their codes. And then that thing, it makes us to feel like, you know, our kids are not recognized. And then what is it that we are doing for our kids, for our athletes? Poor educators, really, we are doing a very big job, whereby, as Kgothatso was saying, we are just doing because we are having that passion to take our kids to that level, but we are not recognized. One coat in winter games, one coat in summer games. And then the mainstream, they give them only close to 8 or 9 coats. And of course, our president, even our sports convener, they went to a meeting. They just say one coat. You know, it's like you can go if maybe you don't want to participate. And sometimes because we feel that we don't have funding for most of the things, because they cannot even recognize SASA-II to make their own arrangements of the games. As much as out of 9 provinces, you may find that during national games, only 5 provinces are coming to participate. Then what do we call it? People must just make it very clear to say disability sports is no more. Then we will understand. But not treating us as if maybe we are pleading for something. Really, for all the codes, you just participate in only one code. They give you netball. Of course, it's the code. Our kids are playing, yes, but only one out of the 11 codes that we are doing. And they do offer those codes because the mainstream itself, they are participating on those codes that we are doing also. Why can't they just say, if it's athletic, it's swimming, it's cross country and everything, and let's just all the disability sport, then they participate in those codes. But they just say only one code. Either you play netball, summer games is football, period. So, but we know very well, we as disability, our athletes are very good. And if I can talk from our province, most of the time, when our province is in position 3 or 4 or 2, is because of disability sports, the special schools that are participating. But because maybe the recognition, or maybe, I don't know, what do they see from our athletes, then they just degraded them to that level to say one code. Next year, maybe they will say no more disability sport. And of course, we won't be surprised because that's the treatment that we are getting. Can you come up with your question again?
She's on mute. Oh. Yeah, you are on mute.
I was asking Sister Reggie that with all these heartbreaks, what would you like to see happen, you know, in terms of making the awareness bigger of disability sport and helping disability sport get more support than it's getting right now?
Yes, Lethabo, I really don't know what can I say. The awareness. Of course, we are awareness. Our athletes are just awareness themselves, because when they participate, I'm telling you, they can just make miracles. And I'm very much sure that all the stakeholders, all the government that are dealing with sport, they know very well the disability sport is doing so good. How long are we gonna say out of ourselves, we are good, we are doing this? Of course, our kids can go to international events and they come back with the medals. They come back, not even silver or bronze. I'm talking about gold. And what are their benefits? What are their rewards? It's just that you got that medal in Italy, then you come back to South Africa, is amen, period. Then you go back to the ground. You go and play that football. And then what next? They must just know that our athletes are very good and they can take this, the continent or the country to that level. And I'm still saying what Kgothatso has said, that Paralympians are still the best out of the Olympians. And really, we need that recognition of our athletes. And we don't want just to come to work and go back home, whereas the sport is there for them to show their talent that they are having.
That's all. A last word from you. What would you like to see, in terms of making sure that disability sport gets, as Sister Jiri says, more recognition and better support?
I don't even know what to say, Lethabo. Mostly when I look at Limpopo in itself, it's so disappointing, so disappointing. Like Reggie was talking about national school games or whatever. Gauteng always do well in disability sport, and I'm always wondering where's our kids in these things, So I wish, because I was saying disability sport for us in the province, it's at schools. I wish the province, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in the province, they can actually, distribute more funding to disability sport at schools. Yes, we understand you wanna have sports awards, you wanna look like Gauteng, you wanna do what? Maybe take that money and put it to a good use. Development, because you attend their awards, it's still the same athletes who are being honored each and every year. What does that say? It should get you worried at someone at the top in sport. Like, why am I always honoring this particular athlete every single year? You should be worried. So I wish they could just distribute most of their funding to special schools so that they can make sure that they revive disability sport. And yeah, when I'm out here, I want to see the Limpopians coming to compete, at these national school games or whatever games are. I cannot only be seeing Gauteng, and when you ask Limpopo, or they even bring athletes who can't even play, which is, I don't know, which is crazy. One time they brought certain athletes to come and compete at tennis. They couldn't even play. And you're like, how is that even possible if the best tennis players in the country are from that province? So it's really saddening to see stuff like that. For me, I would wish they could invest more into disability grassroots level, so that we do not see this sport really dying from disability side. So they should just invest more. Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much. We could go on and on, but this is a sober conversation, and it's sad, and it shouldn't be. So priorities have got to be set right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your honesty in this conversation. And Kgothatso, we wish you luck and at the upcoming G Sport 15 Awards, where you're nominated women in the disability category as well. So we want to wish you all of the best at this upcoming awards. Sister Reggie, thank you so much. And I want to wish you all of the best as you push for disability sport to be taken seriously in this country.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.